He's James.
He's Ray.
And this is A Brief History of Nothing, Episode 5, Season 3. And tonight we're going to talk about propulsion systems.
Because eventually the human beings would like to get off this rock.
Yes.
And actually go and have a look around.
At the moment, we're sort of like the horse's carriage, where they got the carriage, took the horse away and put a very crude engine in front and went, let's go. So yeah, that's
we tell
solid fuel rockets.
Yeah, that every rock you've ever seen burns just a flammable, something flammable, and it shoots out the back, and that's how it works.
Yes.
And that idea's been around for centuries.
Yeah.
We launch up to the ISS and we tell, that's space. Let's drive around the block.
Yeah, that's sort of where it's just too far to walk to your friend's place, and you've got to get another means of transport.
Yeah, you've got to get a cab at that point.
Yeah, or a push bike, or...
Yeah. Anyway, so in 2001, a guy called Roger Scheuer, I think that's how you pronounce his surname.
Sounds as good as anything.
Came up with basically, it looks like a giant copper cone, essentially.
Yeah, coffee percolator turned on its side.
Yeah, pretty much. And he basically, you bounce microwave radiation inside. Basically, essentially, is the same as a microwave oven.
So it will heat coffee then?
Yeah, if you can get something in there that has water in it, yes.
Not your hand?
No, not your hand, because they're like, ow, burning.
Oh, look, good finger.
Ouch, burning. So basically, it's like your microwave. It has metal box and radio waves. Microwaves are just an extremely high frequency radio wave.
Yep.
Bounce inside and around the box and warm the water in your food, and that's hey presto, you have lamb chops or whatever.
Yep, lamb chops with excited water molecules in them.
Yeah, they're very excited. And it's basically a copper cone, basically, with the top chopped off. But because it's closed at both ends, apparently the system works. Yeah, well,
this Roger Scheuer, reckoned it worked, and everybody didn't take him seriously. And the Chinese did some studies on it, and they did some testing, and they reckoned it worked. And no one took them seriously. So finally NASA has had a little bit of a play with it, and they think it works, but they're not real sure.
Yeah.
The problem is, for it to work, it has to violate the third law of physics.
The third law of Newton's third law of motion, one of the most fundamental laws of physics there is.
Yes.
Because it's closed at both ends. It's like how rockets work is you have expanding, usually gases inside, or plasma, and you shoot some of it out one end, and you go the other way. That's sort of how that works.
Yes.
So it's violating one of the most fundamental laws of physics we have.
Yes,
it is. Seeming to, anyway.
Yeah, my take on this is that it looks like it works.
Yeah.
What they don't understand is how it works, or why it works. That's what's going to take the investigation. But we need to get away from
chemical rockets because they are woefully inefficient. I mean, we can get to Mars with chemical rockets.
That's sort of like going to the shopping centre, really, isn't it? Your local
it's sort of like a local mall. I mean, NASA wants to get out of the solar system. We've got Voyager and Pioneer and New Horizons that are pretty much on their way out. But we really want to get to Alpha Centauri. We want to have a poke around there, and NASA wants to launch something by 2100.
Yeah.
And the other problem is, in space, you have to somehow slow down again. That's why on New Horizons,
big parachute. Parachute.
Big solar parachute. There's not really any air to slow you down. Again, I'm not a physicist, but maybe you could use the gravity of the star you're trying to visit to slow you down, perhaps? I don't know.
Well, it would make a nice firework if you miscalculate.
Yes. Oops.
Oops, toasted that one. Get another one ready.
That'll only take another couple of decades, we're good.
Yeah. Well, I've with a suspicion here. I could be wrong, but I probably won't be around in 2100 to see whether they've got it sorted.
There is with my current diet and lifestyle, working night shift as a cab driver, it's not the healthiest lifestyle. So if I pulled my act together a bit,
you'll only be
could.
You'd be what, 114?
And that's, I mean,
No,
nowadays...
124.
No, 114.
No.
I was 14 in 2000.
Oh.
Thank you very... Are you insulting my age?
No, I'm trying to make myself 10 years older than I am.
Anyway, so there is a chance I will see 20... There's a vague chance I might see 2100. I mean, pretty much all the very young children now will probably most definitely see 2100 because of the health care.
142 I'm not likely to.
Now, 142 you probably not.
No.
No. Anyway, so...
Yes. Yeah, so what 1994, a physicist...
Miguel Alcubierre, he's actually Mexican, so if I've butchered the name, to anyone who speaks Spanish natively, I'm sorry.
Look, we struggle with English, Spanish, anything else.
Just forget it. Anyway, so he thought of a system where instead of, because under Newton's theory of special relativity, you can't go any faster than light. You can try,
yeah.
When you can, like, you might be travelling 98% of the speed of light, you might kick your engines or whatever a bit harder, all you're going to do is make yourself heavier. It's not going to work.
Because you become infinitely heavy and
infinitely small. So that kind of, through, you know, just like firing a huge big rocket on the back of your craft is not going to...
Could you imagine the size of the rocket it would take to try and push you up even to a quarter light speed?
It would be ridiculous.
It'd be like about 7 or 8 stages and they'd just be out. And the next thing you know, if you're flying a rocket like a scaled up Saturn V, what if, say, a 2 kilogram meteorite hit your rocket when you were up to about quarter light speed?
You're in a lot of trouble?
It'd go through you faster than a dose of Epsom salts, I'd reckon.
Oh, yes.
It would just simply go boom, straight through.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't slow down for the bandits.
No. So, there's a lot of related stuff that we've got to sort out here.
Yeah.
Because we'd have to find some way of deflecting anything that's in front of, you know, when you start getting faster than what we currently are. And they're having problems now.
Yeah, like a paint fleck or something can take out a satellite.
Yeah,
so
well, they've had, what, paint flecks or something embedded in the window of the shuttle.
Yeah, that's got to really watch that. And of course, if you have a hole in a spaceship that's inside where there are people, it doesn't work out well.
No, pressurized complete vacuum. When that happens in like microseconds.
Yeah, that's not good for the people on board.
Oh. So you really don't have enough time to grab the spare helmet, really, do you?
No, not really. Anyway, so this guy, Alcubierre, he figured out, basically, to put a warp bubble around, like sort of how they do it in Star Trek, kind of, sort of.
Yes.
How to basically, so you can go the equivalent of several times the speed of light. So you can actually go between star systems within a reasonable time frame.
Compress time in front of you.
Yeah, space-time in front of you and stretch it out behind you.
you.
Yeah, and basically you would just think you were moving really fast. And because you're not technically moving, you wouldn't... Yeah, inertia dampeners wouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
So the whole thing of, like, you know, having to put inertia dampeners on, like, if you're going like the Warp 3 on Star Trek, they're all going, "Ah!" Otherwise, no.
No. But if you were... Well, talk about Star Trek, impulse engines. If this EM drive is correct, and we're assuming that it works, Star Trek's impulse engines are essentially that EM drive powered by a deuterium reactor.
Oh, essentially, they use fusion. Apparently, yeah.
So deuterium reactor, we know them. We know the physics on that.
Yeah, we made a big bomb out of it, which we covered in our explosions episode.
Yes. EM drive, that should be good enough for about a quarter light speed if we can get it all the physics sorted.
Yeah, the trouble is starting a fusion reaction's a real pain in the...
Yeah, best not do it on Earth, I suspect.
If you're trying to push... You've ever tried to push two like poles of a magnet together?
Really you won't, because they'll just do...
Yeah, they'll do that. So that's when you're doing fusion, then you're trying to push the electrons together and make them fuse. And then you're trying to push the protons together, which have even more mass. That's what you're trying to do with fusion.
Yeah, but we're getting there. Eventually we'll crack that one. Like, I mean, you go back 100 years when they first started theorising about the atom.
And we could think, and during World War II they managed to actually split the atom.
Right.
Which is fission, which is what, Fat Man and Tall Boy?
Yeah, so with the two bombs.
Yeah, that's what they worked on, and a lot of France and a lot of the United States uses. Every nuclear reactor you've ever seen, ever heard about, is a fission reactor. So it splits atoms, so it takes things like uranium, thorium, plutonium and splits them.
Yes. Yes, so, but then there's a lot of money going to research on fusion reactions because it's a lot cleaner.
It's a lot cleaner. So with fission you have things like radioactive isotopes of cesium, iodine, and a few other lovely things.
But they're not that hard to deal with.
Yeah, you just bury them in a big hole in the ground. And eventually they will break down. But the problem is with nuclear power is that the more radioactive something is, the less time it's a problem, but the more problem it is, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright.
So this guy, yeah, essentially back to where we were going, we were just going here and around. Yeah, so the trouble is with this system, it took the energy required is the mass equivalence of Jupiter. So E equals mc squared, take that, mass of Jupiter, and put it through that equation. That's how much energy you need.
Yeah, so turn Jupiter into a ball of pure energy.
That's what you need.
And connect up the jumper cables.
Yeah, that's the one. So this didn't really go anywhere until a guy called, what was his name? Harold White, I think it was. I might have been getting that name wrong. I know it's White was the surname.
Yeah, no, Harold White.
Yeah.
Harold White.
White.
English is hard.
English is hard. He figured out if you changed the geometry of the bubble, so basically instead of a belt shape, it's a donut shape, and oscillated it, whatever that's supposed to mean, you can
really quickly turn it on and off.
Yeah, you can actually reduce the amount of energy needed from the equivalent of the mass of Jupiter to all of what the United States uses in a year.
Yeah.
So we're going from...
That's not a lot of energy, is it?
No, it's only, several hundred exajoules apparently. So we're getting there. They are trying to detect warp bubbles at NASA. They're working on trying to detect warp bubbles, trying to deliberately create them and detect them.
Oh, so we're sort of in space propulsion where cars were at about 1895.
Yeah, like carriages with an engine instead of a horse.
Yeah, but they were starting to turn into cars, almost.
Almost. But yeah, no, we're still
they were
using...
more car than less carriage.
Yeah, most of our rockets now are just overgrown fireworks.
Yeah, so they're still carriages without the horse.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're still fireworks that aren't meant to explode. So,
okay, now, glad we cleared that up for you, aren't you?
Yeah, so now you've had your physics lesson.
Okay, on this day, Henry I of England died, and the crown passed to his nephew King Stephen, which started the First English Civil War because Matilda was supposed to get the crown and didn't because she was a girl.
Yes, and in 1135 feminism wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, so until that was all sorted out.
Yeah.
Okay, then, now, let's go forward a few centuries to 1902.
Yeah, just...
And Harvey Kid Curry Logan was sentenced to 20 years prison. He was Butch Cassidy's right-hand man in the Wild Bunch.
Yeah.
One of the last well-known gangs of the American West.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 20 years in 1902. Now, in 1939, Russia attacked Finland. Now, you would have thought Russia, Finland, that the Russians would have just walked over Finland. Well, guess what? They had to have a second try because they mucked it up the first time round. The Finns beat them, so they had to come back with even more troops and crush Finland.
Yes, but didn't they get help from both? And this is 1939, and didn't they manage to get help from both England and Germany?
The planes, a lot of the planes the Finnish Air Force were flying were Gloucester Gladiators made in England, and they were also getting help from Germany, so the planes were flying with a modified swastika on them.
So
English planes with sort of semi-German markings.
Okay, so basically...
And then England and Germany signed a
non-aggression pact.
And then they both went, Finland basically went, ooh, bugger. And Russia went,
wasn't Russia and...
Yeah, Russia and Germany went,
Oh yes, so you said England and Germany.
No,
they hated each other's guts.
Yeah, England and Germany helped Finland. Finland got help from both of them at various times.
Yeah.
And then when Russia and Germany signed the non-aggression pact, they basically, Germany and Russia went and just absorbed Finland.
Yes, and in 1955 was a very important day.
For a coloured lady named Rosa Parks, who refused to sit in the back of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She sat in the front of the bus, which was the whites' only part of the bus.
And they didn't like that because, yes, and that sort of led into the Montgomery boycott, so that basically...
Yes.
They boycotted the bus system. But also, a little known Baptist preacher known as Martin Luther King Jr. sort of came into the fray.
That's pretty much where he got his start.
Yeah, and he was a minister.
Yes, he became more radicalised, and 10 years later was in the forefront of the civil rights movement in the United States.
Yes, and in 1965, a book basically tore through the American automotive industry.
Yes, Unsafe at Any Speed, published by Ralph Nader, took a look at American automotive industry and basically told the world that they were building death traps.
Yeah.
And which they were. I mean, they were not going to give you any more than they absolutely have to. And if you think that the American automotive industry were building death traps, Australian cars gave you even less.
Yeah.
So, I'm amazed that in the early to mid 60s that any of us ever survived.
Because like steering columns used to come, like front end impact, steering columns used to come up and crush people.
Yes.
It was just...
Well, in Australia, Holden decided that in 1963 they would start and they would offer a safety feature. They put some hard foam across the protruding edge of the dash. There was a pointed edge, they put hard foam on that, which would take your teeth out anyway, so...
I mean, Merck were using petted dashes by that point.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, who got born?
Who got born on this day? Well, a little-known bloke, this little-known Englishman named Terry Edward Parsons was born today. One of the biggest-selling recording artists through the 60s. Probably known better as Matt Monro, the singing bus driver. He was born on this day, 1930.
Another little-known New Yorker called Alan Stewart Koningsberg.
Yes.
You might know him as Woody Allen.
He was born on this day in 1935.
Yes.
Bette Midler was born on this day in 1945. Emily Mortimer, English actress, probably I know her from Newsroom, where she starred with Jeff Daniels in a TV series. I only went for 2 seats. Brilliant show, but Newsroom. Yeah, that was Emily Mortimer. And Philip DeFranco.
Very well-known YouTuber. You've probably seen him. He was born in this day in 1985, so he is about 3 months older than I am.
Ooh,
well, 4 months actually.
He's old.
End of March.
He's old. Alright.
He's very old. Alright.
That's the show for tonight. We've waffled on enough. Alright. See you on the dark side. We got cookies. If you like us, like us. If you don't like us, inflict this on your friends. Share us. Subscribe.